Dricus only rewatched his fight 2 weeks ago.
Really?
Only 2 weeks ago. On the Thursday that I saw Mornay for EFC, he said we only just rewatched the fight.
Why? What do you think?
Because I think they wanted to take. They knew where they made their mistakes.
Okay.
They were away for a long time on holiday, doing their thing, and going, okay, let's refresh, let's regroup, let's go back. Because if you go back into any camp thinking that you didn't make mistakes, you're screwed. You got to go, I lost for a reason. Let's fix that and then get better.
Yeah.
And to be mulling over that and then also listening to people. So he kind of removed himself from the situation because everybody kind of loves Dricus and wants to be the yes man and go, don't worry, you didn't really, but you had this. And you want to go back and go, where do we change?
Yeah.
How do we get better? That's his attitude. And people ask me, is he going to make a comeback? By virtue of how he is built, I have never met somebody with besides Demart Penner. And I referenced Demart because Demart had this like almost genetically, I'm going to win.
What's up, everyone? Welcome back to Storytime. Thank you so much for tuning in. Please do not forget to like and subscribe. Thank you for being here with us today. We're here with someone that I've actually known you for quite a while through Dylan and through everyone at the EFC. We're here with Graeme Cartmell, who is the VP of Talent for the EFC throughout South Africa and Africa. We're going to get into some details into how the sport has completely taken over Africa. It's sourced some of the most incredible fighters. Obviously, as we all know, Dricus du Plessis, because that's how you say the name, America, pay attention, has come from, he was a multiple title holder at the EFC and has now made his way into the UFC and become the world champion. So you guys are sourcing some incredible talent from throughout the world and throughout Africa and South Africa specifically. But Graeme, thank you so much for being here. Appreciate your time.
Thank you, and what a great intro. Thanks, buddy.
Thank you. I kind of just rambled. I'll be honest with you.
I mean, you must do this for a living.
Yeah. Hey, imagine. Imagine. But let's get into like, firstly, just to kind of break it down for everyone, what is VP of Talent?
It sounds a lot more intense than it really is.
But that's every title
Vice President of Talent is, when we first started the business, I was simply a matchmaker. A guy puts the fights together, finds the talent. And obviously, as the years have gone on, that's changed because the nature of the sport has changed. The nature of how you do this type of thing has changed. And it's now a little bit more official because I actually have a matchmaker, Ashley, who kind of I work with, and he then goes out and puts the fights together and we work as a team, which I oversee that department, which is basically talent.
Okay, sick. Let's crack a Knox quick before we go any further.
Like I was saying to you earlier, I've drunk north of about, I said 50, but it's probably about 100. And I've never looked at what's on the back of these things, but it is. There's everything that you want, including 0 caffeine, which I might actually want in a drink. And no sugar and all the good stuff.
For the longest time, we couldn't find red grape because it was forever sold out. But we got given a case. And not only are we on the red grape, but we're on the 0 sugar.
Zero sugar, buddy. And at Checkers, we're collecting these little poppets. Hey? So I've got a couple of these in my car already.
Do you have the little Knox can?
Yeah, of course.
I don't have it yet, but I've given all of them to my little sister.
I posted a thing on social media about it. Cheers, mate.
Cheers, man. Appreciate you being here. Thank you, Knox.
Vodka in this, no.
No, that's a cheeky one for later.
Yeah. So
I have a whole bunch of stats written down here regarding the EFC.
We should have had Cairo here for the stats.
Cairo technically is. He's just downstairs in the coffee shop. But I just want to list off some details regarding the EFC, and then from there we can kind of get into some questions. So the EFC was founded in 2009 by brothers Cairo, Silas, and Calvin Howarth. I hope I said that surname correctly as well. In Joburg, South Africa. Their goal to establish an African-based mixed martial arts promotion modeled in part on the international benchmark of what the UFC is known for. The inaugural event, EFC 01, was held at the Ticket Pro / Coca-Cola Dome in Joburg on the 10th of November in 2009. From early on, the EFC placed emphasis on broadcast reach and production quality. For example, in 2012, it was reported that its events were broadcasted in over 110 countries worldwide. In 2014, the EFC partnered with cinema chain Ster-Kinekor to screen its live events in cinemas around South Africa.
Yeah, that was cool. That was wild.
That's dope. In 2016, 2017, the broadcast partnerships grew stronger. EFC events were broadcasted on free-to-air television such as ETV and SABC, reaching large audiences. For example, The live broadcast of EFC's increased ETV's usual viewership for that time slot was 33% immediately, and a record peak of over 1.6 million viewers for one event alone. By mid-2017, EFC reported that over 25% of the South African population, which is an estimate around 15.7 million people, had watched EFC on TV that year alone. In 2018, the EFC's TV audience in South Africa was highlighted as 17 times bigger than all Super Rugby games in the same period. The EFC has played a key role in elevating MMA in Africa from niche to mainstream sport. Its broadcast reach, event production value, and professionalization set standards. It has provided a platform for African fighters to compete professionally and gain exposure rather than having roots via foreign organizations. Through strong media deals and growth in viewership, the EFC has shown that African-based sports properties can achieve significant scale and international reach. By challenging the dominance of traditional sports broadcasts in South Africa in terms of viewership, EFC has influenced the sport and media landscape in South Africa as a whole. So I know that was a mouthful.
Sure.
But there you go.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
That's what it is. I think it's a little bit more to home for me, like the business inside of itself. When you talk about founding the business and you just mentioned how it's just like, we were all together building this thing from the start. In 2009, I was working in the banks, and Cairo, I was helping train people, and Cairo and I was holding pads for him, and he was like, I'm going to start the UFC of Africa. Do you want in? And I was like, yeah, for sure.
That must have been a mad pitch, though.
Yeah, look, I mean,
at the time.
What I was doing was I was helping manage a lot of the athletes. So I was with FightFit training there. In Cairo and I were Richard Kwan's first students.
Sure.
Really. And we essentially went into the sport with the idea that it was big already in our heads. So this was building sport. And we were hosting events at a nightclub. While I was helping host events at a nightclub, which was just a watch party. We would watch UFC. I'm talking about like Chuck Liddell and like that type of stuff. And that's how kind of where it started. And then a couple of the fighters, Darren Daniel, a couple of the guys started to compete. And I was kind of assisting in managing them and getting them fights at local tournaments through Richie, and through Richie was the coach. And then Cairo turned around to me one day and he said, look, you kind of been doing this for a while.
Yeah.
Do you want to be involved? And it was part-time for the first event. And afterwards I said, bro, this is going to be huge. Like it's taking too much of my time. Yeah. So I resigned, put my resignation in with the bank, went across to EFC, became a partner in the business, and we literally boosted from there.
Yeah.
So it's been an incredible and an amazing start to a business, because it really was just a couple of guys who loved the sport. I won't say, Kara and I very much heavily loved the sport, and just wanted to create an awesome environment for people. And we could see how shit it was for other people. Like the average athlete was going to really bum events and competing at these bad events. And we were sitting at these events just before EFC, before our first event. I remember sitting there going, is this the quality that's out there?
Yeah.
And when we put the first show together, it was just no holds barred. Yeah. Throw everything at this, make this as big as possible. And it was awesome.
Can you recall that first event?
Absolutely. We were basically cable tying the cage together, because the guy who gave us the cage was an absolute nonce, and he came in and set up this thing, and we were like, production was on cue, everything was sorted from our side. We'd never built a cage before.
Yeah.
And I remember the four of us are walking around this cage. This is 16 years ago, shouting at this guy while we're putting cable ties together, telling him what an idiot he was, because the doors are opening and the cage is not erected properly.
Wow.
So I do remember, and it was a teething process, like everything. You look at the finished product now, and I equate it to many businesses. People look at the old man sitting in the corner, and they don't know what he put in to create the beautiful business that people live in. And that was kind of it for us, is like, I didn't realize we would be this far along 16 years later, but I knew that it was something magical. I knew that we were doing something that people were enamored with. There was an upswell. There was something going on with regards to it. And it was a real magical time. Like, even for the fighters, I mean, you rattle off names. So then we were young, and you've got Darren Daniel, Jeremy Smith. You've got all these names that were synonymous with just like badass fighters.
Yeah.
And we were going to put them in our event, and they were going to fight for us. And then we're going to compete in mixed martial arts against each other. It was like, what the hell are we doing?
Yeah.
It was great. It was great.
What's it been like? I mean, you incredibly close with the three brothers. I mean, at this point, it's pretty much the four brothers, to be honest, between the four of you. What's it been like working with quote unquote family?
Obviously challenging, but as a whole, I think in terms, and I say challenging in so much as a business is always going to be challenging in a family setting. But I think those three are incredibly dynamic, incredibly, like, there's a lot of vision that's put together there. And that's been it's really been amazing to be a part of that, to be a part of that mindset. And I mean, I add my own element, but I think, it's exciting. It's exciting, and there's always a challenge. I mean, that is the nature of this business, though, is every single time we put on an event, even though it's been years and a decade later and some, you still sit there and go, oh, well, we haven't dealt with that before. And at least you've got guys that you trust and are going to go to bat and actually do the best thing possible. That's kind of what's really great about the three of them, is that no matter what, their heart is in the right place, and they really want the best for the athlete, for the product, for the ultimate sponsor. Like, that's their nature, is to grow in that direction and actually create good stuff.
Yeah. Having been to one or two of the events with Dole, I mean, it's so much fun. The arena's buzzing because of the intensity of the fact that people are about to beat the crap out of each other. But also everyone's so stoked to be there, and VIPs are jol and seats are full, and it's such a vibe to be there. But from an outside perspective, I would imagine that it's like a 3-tier in terms of responsibility, right? You've got broadcasting and media. You've got managing an event that's happening to make the broadcasting happen.
Sure.
And then you've got fighters and talent and the handling thereof. Between those three, what would you say are some of the challenges that you guys face? Because I think other companies that are maybe trying to do this sort of thing, that kind of thing's valuable. At the scale you guys are at, to just kind of touch into what some of the challenges and strengths are of those three.
Drinking a Nox Hydrate feels like.
Is there no one else? Give it up for still now. Dricus du Plessis.
Let's get back to the show.
Well, I equate it to, if you look at your podcast and everything you do, Josh, it's the same. It's like people would look at the entry level. It's really difficult, which you think you don't sweat the small stuff anymore. You're like, we'll deal with that. If it's a technical issue, we'll deal with that. I think that's time in the business. From a production standpoint, our team is so polished. And in fact, in every department, I think that is the beauty of kind of cutting your teeth over a long period, is every single department runs smoothly. And if there are any kinks, we know we can get through them, and we don't sweat the small stuff. We know that it will come together in the end. And the unknown is the athlete side. Production is always going to be what production is, right? So you've got a format, you know how to put it together. The running of an event, like I said, there's always something that comes out of the woodwork, and you're like, well, we haven't done that, but it's not such a challenge because within a framework, it's the same sort of thing. Athletes, you've got 24 personalities, and they're trainers, corners, coaches, moms, dads, sisters, girlfriends, wives, that are all feeding into that, and that creates an entire narrative. And I always say, that's who we need to capture, because you're not there to see me or Kyra or the fighters are the real, and that's the exciting part. So challenges come out of the fighters, but all the good content comes out of the fighters. All the narratives of their lives and their stories come out. So I would say, challenge-wise, growing the business is always going to be holistically difficult because you're going to different territories and you've got to set up like, going to Cape Town, for example, because we're based in Joburg, coming down to Cape Town for the crew is always a challenge. But it's something we're so used to doing now. And I'm being flippant in it. I don't see any major issues in the whole business. It just runs so smoothly. We've been doing this for so long. But the fighters are always going to be pulling off or injuries. I mean, that's kind of if I can circle one area that's always a worry in the back of my mind, it's fighter safety, injuries, probably.
Yeah, because that's what I was going to go into in terms of direction of chatting about the fighters. Like, how do you handle a last minute pullout or someone doesn't make weight or, like you say, someone's injured? And I know there's a very similar occurrence that's happened recently with one of your fighters now going to one FC, and you guys have had to completely flip the schedule for the rest of 2025 in order to accurately not only cover and give the audience incredible fights that are coming up, but also to keep the structure of the division correct. How do you handle that?
Yeah, so it's actually good you mentioned that. There's two components there. You want to match fights that are stylistically entertaining and exciting and what people want to watch. But you have to keep the divisions, the integrity of the divisions in a direction where it's growing towards a challenger and a title holder. That is difficult. When things change, I want to say we're fortunate enough to have done this for so long to build up a roster and also a network of trainers, managers, and athletes that we can lean into. We don't always get it right. I'm not saying we get it right every single time. We have to flip it on its head and change a fight. But we try for the most entertaining replacement at that stage. So if a fight, and it's usually a headliner that you're talking about, if a headliner falls apart at the last minute, and this is maybe where I love the sport, and this is where the challenge is for me, and that's probably why I'm so excited by it. And I'm thinking of a specific fight. Terence Belelo stepping in at the last minute.
Spoke about this the other day.
Yeah, is exactly what I'm talking about. Is out of that, you created a star.
Yeah.
We created a narrative for a guy that I thought about. And even Ken Sekeletu, the same thing happened to him. He stepped up short notice to fight Jean Lubeya, who was 9-0 at the time. And I was like, no, this guy's going to get smoked. And he came in there and put the hurt on Lubeya. And I was like, we have a star, So in those moments, I believe it's not so much, I'm not stressed about it. I used to be. I know Ashley stresses about it. She's like, what do we do? And I'm like, no, don't worry. We've done this a million times. It happens. I want to more err to the side of the fighter and say, guys, if you are out there, just remember that's where you made. You can be created in the space of a decision. And it's not that we hold the power. It's your decision to go, put your hand up. I'm here. Yeah. I'm ready. And Dricus actually got his break, I believe, in that exact example. He was not really on my radar in the first two fights because we had such a windfall of great fighters come in and run streaks and all these big names. Remember, we were dealing with like Norman Vessel's fighting, Bernardo Mikishi, like these big names coming in, and then you've got a young up-and-comer. So the young up-and-comers for me weren't really that interesting. Now I love them. Now I'm like, geez, I want to see that guy fight.
Yeah.
Back then it was like, let's get the guy fights, as many fights as possible. Yeah. And he was 2-0, and Mornay Visser phoned me. He said to me, listen, we'll take that fight. I know that fight's fallen apart. And it was Donovan Hawkey was supposed to fight somebody, a big name. I can't remember who it was. And Donovan was like, he'd had over 15 fights. Now, in context of that time, 15 fights was, you might as well have been 50. You know what I mean? Because guys just weren't racking up those amount of fights. And he's like, listen, I've got, Dricus is ready. I said, no, man, he's not ready. And I was so hell-bent on like, this, we're putting our reputation out there, my reputation. I don't want to put a guy, an unknown against this guy. And he's like, Graeme, I promise you, it's going to be amazing. He's a great fighter. And he came in there and he absolutely put the hurt on Donovan, dropped elbows on him, smashed him to pieces, full mount, just rained down elbows, destroyed him in the first round. And I ate my words. But There we go. Created in a moment of like, okay, let's take that, let's put somebody else in there.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
when it happens, at the moment you shit the bed a little bit because you're like, okay, we've got to do this, and you know a lot of people rely on you to create a whole new, something to watch. But at the time, as that progresses into something, that's where the magic is. It's always in between. I find where all the magic is.
Magic is in the maybe.
It's in the middle.
In
It's
the
in
grey.
that they call it the bowstring. It's the tension of that bowstring, not the release. It's that's all the good stuff.
I'll circle back to Dricus now because I really want to ask you more in on that. But in closing on chatting about fighters, I mean, there's so many stories from a production point of view from fighters in and out that Dil and I will chat about on how you guys, obviously you go live at a set time every event.
Yeah.
And like 2-3 hours before, there'll be things that you guys are like, oh shit, we need to fix this, we need to get that. And every time it happens, it lands perfectly on time, it broadcasts, it goes out, everything's flawless, but the stress build up to that moment.
Sometimes it works out even in a really funny way. In the early days of the Coca-Cola Dome, they just started doing load shedding. It was a new thing. Load shedding was just this new thing, right? So nobody prepared in terms of like generators. Like nobody needed a generator. It was like load shedding. What is that? And I remember so vividly. To Blanche was his name. Got knocked out. Janus de Lange. Got knocked out where he was literally stiff. I think he like went rigor mortis in the air. He got knocked out so badly and landed. But as he landed, the lights went off. And people after in the interval came back and they were like, yes, you guys timed things perfectly, man. Because he was out. They brought in the stretcher. They got him out and I was like, no, fully. And I was like, what happened? So you're saying in
No, that's a great example. Yeah, I didn't even think about the load shedding thing. Like,
We want to thank you guys for watching this far. We also want to thank Super Mushrooms for keeping me focused for every episode of Storytime.
100%. So, even in just talking about where you create moments, moving Vili out of EFC or him moving across to 1FC, which has now happened, and we've kind of concluding that. That's been a good lesson for me because we were always tantalizing it with Vili. After every fight, he won a performance bonus. I knew he would go. I knew he would eventually go. And then when he got his manager phoned me and said, listen, between you and I haven't even spoke to Vili about it. We've got an offer from One. And although I think that it's good that he is going and getting a gap, an international fight, One wasn't my first choice. Not that I have the all-seeing situation here or make the choices. I try and advise the athletes as much as possible. Some guys we co-manage, some guys we don't. Sometimes we work with guys. 1FC for me was good, but I would have loved to have seen Vili in UFC. And right after that, I emailed Sean and Mick and I said, listen, guys, this guy's going to go to One. We did this, we'd done this before. We're like, listen, just take him before he goes to One. And they were like, look, we're not signing any talent in that division at the moment, but, we've seen him and we know because after every fight, I'd been baiting them, sending them emails. Look at this footage. Look at this guy. The context, if I can take it back to how good it is for any athlete who is in EFC, and this is like just blowing smoke up our own butts here, but the reality is that's exactly what it is that if you want to be seen by the global market, there is no, EFC is not just the Sharks or the Stormers. EFC is rugby to a lot of people. Even though we're not, we are. And you can come up, start with us, go all the way through and create a legitimate, strong career. And that's what these guys in the Grand Prix, which is what we've done in replacement of Vili, we were like, cool, Tumelo would have been the best fight for Vili because he is a former tough guy. Yeah. UFC have already, done their worked with him, so we know that they know him. If Vili can beat Tumelo, he's gone to the UFC. He didn't take that opportunity, went to 1FC, great. But now whoever fights Tumelo and whatever comes out of this Grand Prix now is going to be exactly that.
Yeah.
You know, Litle is going to fight Tumelo, which is massive. I mean, like an undefeated guy against Tumelo. And then you've got Kamana against Zondi. That in inside of itself at the flyweight division is just going to create palpability and strength.
And how do you manage that relationship with the UFC? Like, what is the form of communication?
So the UFC, things have changed over the past decade, how to get athletes into the UFC. I have a relationship with Mick, not Sean, but I usually email them both just to kind of get the brain working there for them. But I usually just prime the athlete, or tease it to them. So I'll show them an email. This is who we're looking at, because they know that they're going to get the best athletes coming out of us. We're never going to send just fly-by-nights. We're going to send guys that are going to be great for their division, and they're the ultimate gods in that universe. So they're going to take the guy or not take the guy, but that's it. Send them an email. Start there. Sometimes WhatsApp Mick if I really think, like Dricus and Don were two guys that I was like adamant on him getting in front of. And I know we prime the UFC in that way. And sometimes the guys don't come through us. But they're on the radar, at least by virtue of us making that contact.
Yeah.
I don't believe for certain athletes going the contender route is the right way.
Why?
Contender route is, man, that is like, it's not designed by the matchmakers. A matchmaker or anybody in the talent business will go, or what we do is we're looking at the guy going, okay, he's X amount of championships here. This is what he is. You know, there's a value system to him.
Yeah.
At Dana White Contender Series, your value system's in your hands and how quickly you can knock somebody up, and it gets devalued at how many times you go to the ground. You know what I mean? Dana doesn't want to see anybody in the ground. He wants to see a bar brawl.
Well, it's reality TV.
He wants to see two guys smashing the hell out of each other.
Yeah, you want like
stand-up
ooh-ah moments.
I get it. I mean, and that's why some guys don't suit that. They'll win at contender but not get in. So I think that there's different routes for guys. Everybody wants to get into the UFC. UFC are doing massive deals all over the place at the moment. So to get guys in is becoming extremely hard. It's becoming harder and harder now. And I think that that's kind of going to be hard. It's not great for the UFC to not have real feelers on the ground of who is good and not good. Because then they're just focusing on, the African talent is so huge. If they're missing that market, which I feel that they are, like if you think about it in terms of the percentage of their roster, why do they have so many more Brazilians than they do African athletes?
Yeah.
That makes no
incredible
sense.
African fighters. Usman,
Incredible.
Ngannou, Dricus, yeah.
But we're talking about guys that have been discovered.
Adesanya, I guess.
Yeah, you're talking about guys that have been discovered, but there's thousands who have not been discovered. But discovered as in we're doing all the hard work here, discovering them for the UFC. But that trickle and that bleed through is so slight. It's not powerful enough. It needs to be stronger.
What about Dagestan 2-3 years and forget? What about send some homies that side and see what we can do there?
Oh man, I've got such a strange view on this, but mine's maybe it is laced with a little bit of like favoritism towards Dricus.
Of course,
the way I feel about the whole thing. But I've been a huge purveyor of advocate for wrestling. I love wrestling. I think wrestling is it's the coolest sport on the planet in terms of combat sport. If I had to create a fighter, I'd be like, go do wrestling, then we're going to teach you some stand-up. Amazing. I don't think Dagestani wrestling falls within that category of wrestling because wrestling usually has rounds and it usually has a system of pin the guy on the ground and you win the fight and then you can move on to the next, or, there's a process to it. I think traditional Dagestani wrestling is hold the guy down, which is what we saw with Dricus. So is that really wrestling? Is that really fighting? And that's where I said in a thing I put on socials, I was like, guys, everyone's got it wrong. Who is the actual boogeyman? If you are the boogeyman, you go out there and you fight your fight and you dominate someone and you make it entertaining. You do what we all like. I didn't start in this business because I was like, oh, this is going to be a really nice 25 minutes of two guys. I can't wait to watch two guys just hold each other for 25 minutes. That's really what the pinnacle of the sport is going to be in 16 years.
Yeah.
Or who's the boogeyman there? Because Dricus to me is the boogeyman. Khamzat was like, I'm not going to mess around with this guy. I'm not going to give him a gap.
Yeah.
Who's the boogeyman? He shat himself for Dricus. That's my feeling.
Well, we also don't give Dricus enough credit in that fight. Result aside, which a lot of people already, as soon as I say that, might disagree with me, but result aside, everyone either gets submitted or knocked out by Khamzat in the first round, the first 2 rounds. For Dricus to survive all 5 and make it right through to the end, granted, as you say, he got held down for all 5, so it's tough to go like, he didn't get like physically beaten in any way of like, oh wow, you know, homie got smacked in the head. It was very much, a hold down fight, and I appreciate the skill required massively. Khamzat's an incredible fighter, but to last that long with someone that no one's, I mean, we got Gilbert Burns and Usman, right? That were great fights. Yeah, which credit to those two as well. Phenomenal fights. Actually, watched some of the highlights this morning in preparation for this. But for Dricus to last that long was phenomenal. How do you feel about Mornay's comment, his coach's comment into like a rematch will come, but not right now? What's the game plan now?
The game plan, after speaking to Mornay, and I never know how much he's willing to, how forthcoming he is in what he's saying. Like, because obviously there's a lot of play, but he's pretty open about the situation. They've got a fight, I believe March, April. It might be Imavov. Apparently, could be. That'd be amazing. My opinion is, why is Khamzat not being pushed to defend? He's got challenges. The reality is, he is always going to be this guy where he doesn't fight. He fights on his terms, right? I think the Dagestani wrestling thing is the most boring sport, boring style of fight on the planet. If you took Khabib, everyone raved about Khabib. The day that Khabib retired, I'm telling you something, the UFC were popping bottles of champagne in their office, running around going, thank God we have our sport back. Yeah. This is not going to be the most boring sport ever.
Yeah.
Because think about it, they're in the era of not wanting the Dagestani wrestlers. I think Khamzat was the last of those guys. Nobody else has come up behind him. You know why? Because UFC have gone, Contender Series. We only want brawl. If you're going to wrestle, cool, we'll discover you then. We'll discover you. We'll ask the wrestling out of the sport now.
Yeah.
Because nobody wants to watch that. Nobody pays for that. It's almost unsportsmanlike. It's like foot stomping.
Well, you lose the element of the big knockout, the big hit, the spinning elbow, that's gone with that style, which is like, I mean, you know this so much better than I do, and so does Dole. So I'm careful to comment into this.
No,
but
I mean, you're the average fan, so that's actually the best comment.
That is true. Where having experienced a little bit of jiu-jitsu with Dole and see that go down, I've got so much respect for jiu-jitsu and wrestling and everything like that. But it is such a tough tightrope to walk of like, I appreciate and love it and want to see guys at the highest level doing it. But yeah, we don't want 25 minutes of...
No, we don't.
So it is tough. And I think the highlight of the Khamzat Dricus fight was that last round where Dricus was able to throw some hands and make some connections there. Yeah. Suddenly everyone was out of their seats going, oh, here it is. We're getting something exciting, And Khamzat, his response was, cool, let's go back to what we've done for the other four, Which that's his style and that's his profession, and he's clearly the best at it.
And I also want to answer your question, which was Mornay's comment about not wanting to take the rematch now. Is Mornay, to his own words, realized where the error of their ways was? Okay, is they only watched that fight 2 weeks ago. Dricus only rewatched his fight 2 weeks ago.
Really?
Only 2 weeks ago. On the Thursday that I saw Mornay for EFC, he said we only just rewatched the fight.
Why? What do you think?
Because I think they wanted to take. They knew where they made their mistakes.
Okay.
they were away for a long time on holiday, doing their thing and going, okay, let's refresh, let's regroup, let's go back. Because if you go back into any camp thinking that you didn't make mistakes, you're screwed. You got to go, I lost for a reason, let's fix that and then get better. And to be mulling over that and then also listening to people. So he kind of removed himself from the situation because everybody kind of loves Dricus and wants to be the yes man and go, don't worry, you didn't really, but you had this and you want to go back and go, where do we change? How do we get better? That's his attitude. And people ask me, is he going to make a comeback? By virtue of how he is built, I have never met somebody with besides Demart Penner. And I reference Demart because Demart had this like almost genetically, I'm going to win. I know what I'm a winner. I only win. And Dricus is the same. He doesn't look at it as he lost. He goes, okay, cool, but now I'm going to win. All right, let's put that aside. Now I'm going to win. What do I need to do to win? I admit it. Cool. Let's not harp on it. Let's move to the next thing. And make it happen. So I think in many ways the comeback, and I'm almost certain that his comeback will be the one we really get excited about when he starts on that trajectory and he beats Imavov and he gets his rematch and he beats Chimaev, because he will beat Chimaev this time. I think that's my opinion, and my opinion is pretty much built on not so much on Dricus because I know what he is. It's now understanding Chimaev. We saw a massive kink in his armor going 5 rounds with Dricus the way he did. We're like, hang on, you're not that scary. You're not that scary, because if you were so scary, you would have submitted him or knocked him out, right? But you had to wrestle him for 25 minutes and hold him and really bad wrestling, really just body to body type of stuff. Anyway, so I digress. Go Dricus.
I love that you're talking about this. This is sick. This is awesome. I love you talking about it. I want to quickly deviate out before we get into a final question and wrap up. I want you to try this with me if you wouldn't mind.
Sure.
Are you ADHD?
Am I ADHD?
Yeah.
Not since I moved to Cape Town. I'm more centered now.
You've been doing
cold
dips
for the last
meditation.
38 years, I was pretty ADHD.
Okay, so I'm pretty set that I am as well. I mean, I got diagnosed when I was very young, and my parents were like, "Not a chance. We're not putting him on written." So we started doing a lot of work with Super Mushrooms, and they've got a focus product, they've got an athlete's product, they've got a sleep product. So I started using this. I started using the focus rather than any tablet or prescription. I try to stay away from that kind of stuff. And I started using the sleep rather than smoking every night to kind of switch the brain off and pass out, which is obviously not ideal. No. So I'm gonna give it a go.
Okay, this is not going to make me sleep, eh?
No, it's gonna make you super focused. It tastes like cacao.
Okay.
How
many am I doing?
As many as you want. How focused you want to be?
Want to do the whole bottle?
Yeah, I go for like. There you go.
I missed my mouth a little bit. Sorry.
Very earthy. Yeah, I use this every morning.
It reminds me of spirulina.
What's that?
You see, that was before you guys. I'm a generation ahead of you guys.
See, wait, is that the teaspoon stuff?
Was the green stuff, yeah.
That teaspoon, and they're like, yay.
Okay, well, you know it's not flavored. That is mushroom flavor.
That is mushroom flavor.
And
there are so many mushrooms condensed into that little bottle. Yeah. You kind of have to be focused now, yeah.
There was one other thing I wanted to talk about earlier, but I actually can't remember. It was along the lines of where I see the UFC going with their fighters.
Ooh,
but
that's
I do think just in terms of what an entertainment business does, is it definitely gears itself towards the best fighters and the most entertaining fighters. And if I can look at EFC in that context, the best fighter doesn't always get to be the champion.
Interesting. Touch on that for me.
Because
why? Isn't that the purpose of the structure?
No, because like in any sport, there needs to be a reason why you watch the sport. What entertainment value is it? Like, there's a reason why we watch rugby versus watching, say, hockey, because it's pretty much the same concept of passing a ball around, but the action is in two guys. An element where two guys are going to take each other out. So there's a physicality in it that it's built into us, that to want to be enamored with that type of thing of two people engaging with each other. So that's where I think it doesn't matter what you do in terms of your record, and it's happened with guys like Brian Ebersol, and we've had many guys who've run 5-6 fight win streaks. But to offer them a title, you believe that they are going to be the best for
the sport,
representation of the sport.
Yeah.
So not the champion isn't always the guy. It really suits the UFC that they built Conor McGregor up and had him at the top and as a champion. It was incredible for them. They loved it.
Yeah.
Every moment that. And when Khabib beat him, I think that they were very upset with themselves.
Yeah.
They were like, oh God, now we gotta do this.
Yeah.
And where's the Russian promotions? Why isn't there a big Russian promotion? Because if there was, it'd be the most boring promotion to watch.
Well, have you seen the bare knuckle Russian?
Their best is in the studios.
When they all just mud each other in the studio. I'm like, this is more entertaining than the fight.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I was watching today. Something come on my feed. It was redneck fights. Oh, you see, and that's the thing is people.
That's madness. It's like backyard brawling.
They love the fights, right?
Or like bare knuckle with Conor McGregor.
100%.
He's killing the promotion of that. He's cooked.
He is cooked. And I think that the train, like Dylan says, you are watching, it's a train wreck happening.
Yeah.
Which is a long, like people are enamored with those types of people, watching them for a long time. They don't actually want to ever see them fall off because the process of them falling off is in the tension in that sweet spot.
Charlie Sheen was a prime example of that. Everyone knew that what he was doing was not good. But the whole world was going, go further, go more, do more.
Can I ask you a crazy question? Did you know about Charlie Sheen's achievements prior to watching his documentary?
Yes.
Okay.
Some. I didn't.
Do you know he was such a prolific actor and did so well?
Yes.
Okay.
Because I knew that that's what got him 2.5 Men, and that 2.5 Men was such a deviation from
but you're in
what
the
his
acting trade, so you're kind of like you would know.
Yeah, sort
Dylan,
of.
did you know about him?
I knew he was a big actor. I knew his dad was Martin Sheen.
Yeah.
But I didn't know he was such a big star in the 90s.
Yes.
I didn't know the young
That's what I'm
days.
angling at, right? So he had achieved so much. And won't that happen to Conor McGregor? Won't we be left in that world where maybe a generation on will be like, who's this crazy Irishman that's running to be the president that keeps doing cocaine and going crazy and all over the place?
Do you think it's an image, or do you think he's actually off his tree?
I think that the ego gets so big with guys like that they only know how to chase it. They only know how to keep getting bigger. And, sanity is like this ambiguous sort of spectrum of what is insane nowadays? Half of the people that kids are looking up to are nutcases.
This is true.
If you use that as a metric and you go, well, taking your shirt off or doing drugs or where's the metric? I do think that he is an incredible clout chaser, and he was able to do one thing that very few people is. He's a promoter.
Yeah.
He's able to promote like no one else on the planet. So that in itself is a skill set I think very few people possess, but you have to chase that dragon forever.
Yeah. I don't know if it was, I don't want to put words in his mouth. I don't know if it was Brendan Schaub or someone else that was speaking on Conor that was saying, phenomenal fighter, even better promoter.
Yeah.
And when you land someone like that into something like the UFC, the job gets done for you.
Exactly.
Not only does he win, he can then back it up on the mic as well. In closing, before we go, I mean, we can chat on this kind of stuff for 3 hours with the three of us being in this room, but I want to just touch on the Knox partnership and Knox kind of stepping in and becoming such a fundamental of the sport alongside you guys, obviously with Dricus at being his brand and stepping in. We've been partners to Knox for the last, I think, half a year now. and I've loved it. The things that they think of and are willing to do, and the difference that they're willing to make with something like the Founders Legacy Fund now that's starting, picking 5 kids and paying for their year tuition. Insane. And this is the kind of stuff that Ethan and Dricus really want to do in terms of making a difference in the community of South Africa and kind of giving back to the fandom of this country. What's that partnership been like for you guys?
Yeah, I think from foundation stage, this has been a great brand. The idea was born out of doing a hydration drink. The guys were looking at it going, we want to replace Prime, and where can we possibly fit in? Because there's a plethora of energy drinks, and kids can't really drink energy drinks. Anybody can drink this. And I think that the partnership in itself has enabled us to then be able to grow other young athletes into the business, which is great, which is where I spoke to earlier of, I love the new generation of fighters coming in, because you just never know what you're going to get. You talk about a Conor McGregor and all these guys, they start somewhere.
Yeah.
They start somewhere. So for us, partners like Knox are exactly that. It's taking what Dricus didn't really, he didn't have, he had only EFC. Now he's got a brand that he can push to other people, help fund them and get them into a better state. I mean, that's what the sport is about. It's a full circle, the circle of life.
Exactly.
Where you raise yourself up. You've been given the opportunity through EFC and all these other avenues. You've done well financially, you've done well from a global sensation perspective, and then revisiting that and going, okay, how do we regrow guys? And in an awesome way. So it's not like you're doing it in a demonstrative way. This is an awesome drink with great partners, and so I love the brand, and there's a synergy.
Yeah,
there's a synergy to it. So
it blends perfectly. Yeah,
it's perfect.
Lekker, man. Well, thank you.
Thanks, Josh.
Closing, the fights that are coming up, just to kind of push. 6 November. Yeah. So we've got the Boyd versus Bembe fight, which is madness. Boyd Allen returning. Sneaky Boyd. I was talking about that. Pop, pop. Yeah.
Guy's mad. I love watching him in action. You never know what to expect.
Sick.
So he's going to put on an absolute show against Vince Bembe, who's an absolute warhorse. Every time you watch Vince, he's putting on performance of the night bonuses, knocking people out, throwing hands, and he's not scared of Boyd, that kind of enigma of Boyd Allen. I even saw him recently, and he was like, okay, I'm coming to put some smoke on this guy. So that's going to headline November, and then the co-main will be, no, we don't have the co-main, we moved that out. Yeah, so the 2 flyweight belts are going to be the Grand Prix, and then moving on to December, which will be a headliner with Martin van Staden is returning to fight Adrian Sanchez from Cape Town.
Sick.
So you got a Cape Town boykie in the mix in December.
Yeah, there we go. Represent.
Yeah. Cape Town's yielded a lot of Cape Townians have yielded a lot of good fighters.
Yeah.
You wouldn't
There's
think
some great gyms out there.
You guys are chilled out here.
We are.
Maybe you've got some suppressed anger. There's a lot of guys like just want to throw hot dogs.
Yeah, there you go. Throw at each Once other. All the meditation and cold dips wear off, you're like, I'm actually angry about some stuff. But Graeme, thank you so much for coming in. Appreciate your time, and thank you so much for being here. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please don't forget to like and subscribe, and also tune in to the EFC. Incredible talent coming through. Get in there. This is the grassroots of getting fighters out of South Africa and out of Africa and showcasing them to the world. Thank you so much, Knox. Appreciate your partnership for both the EFC and for StoryTime. Catch you guys next week.